Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Christopher Bonanno, a customer success specialist here at Cisco. And today we're going to be talking about Splunk AppDynamics and really focusing in around analytics. Now, analytics is a little bit more of an advanced topic usually, so trying to condense this down into video gets a little difficult. So bear with me. Definitely provide feedback where you could and I hope that you enjoy it. Now, this is going to be an intro video, which is going to be first of multiple, and we're going to create a playlist to help those of you at home or IT professionals get further and more out of App Dynamics by using analytics. For our agenda today, we're going to go over a brief overview, go over the requirements to make it work, and then we're going to jump into the controller and see how to navigate around in the controller, looking at analytics and getting into some of the configurations that we talk about in the deck. Then we'll leave you with some closing thoughts and get you over to the next video. At high level, what is Splunk AppDynamics Analytics? Our official documentation provides the following definition. Analytics extracts data, generates baselines and dashboards, as well provides perspective beyond traditional monitoring by enabling real-time analysis of business performance correlated with your application performance. So now you have the Splunk AppDynamics controller, as well various monitoring solutions that it provides, and thinking of all of those as sources, and then knowing that the key component of the controller that is associated with analytics is called the event service cluster. Just think that all of that other data coming from various other sources is getting pushed into the event service cluster, which is built on Elasticsearch. And then you as a user or an admin can go into the controller and perform AppDynamics query language searches and correlate basically business performance and application performance. So you can understand things like outages or various other performance indicators and how it relates to either positive or negatively affecting your business. With business intelligence powered by Splunk AppDynamics Analytics, you're able to correlate performance metrics happening in the EUM and APM sides of the product and correlate that back to real business impacts. So now look at how this diagram is showing. Right now, you can see that there's obviously issues happening within the user's ability to log in. Now, if they're not able to log in, they're probably not able to continue their user journey. And now, if you're an insurance company like this example is covering, if they're not able to get to parts of the website that sell them product, they're not going to be able to purchase it. So it doesn't take much to determine that is impacting the business. So now eventually you can start to see this as a pattern and correlate a direct number associated with any sort of outage. So we briefly covered what kind of data is going in, but let's expand on it a little bit. You have the front end information that come in as events as it's going into the event service. And then you have application performance coming in, all of those events. And then we'll break these down more of what those things are in just a moment. And then you also can get custom data and pump it in through the Analytics Event API. It's very important to remember that not all events happening in the controller are considered event data or analytics data. Largely, what those referred to are metrics being sent to the event service cluster with the purpose and intention of using them for analytics. Now, looking at those types of events from the front end, you have events associated with browser, mobile, synthetics, and IoT. And then you also have events associated with business transactions that you select and enable per BT. And then every instance of them passing a single tier is going to be an additional event used in analytics. And then associated with them would be data collectors for HTTP, custom data collectors, as well as some SQL calls that are associated with business data. Now that you understand all of the data going in, let's kind of start understanding what you can do with it. From that data going in, you can perform ADQL searches, and from the results and the way that you have those results framed, you can start pumping out fancy representations of that data with some sort of funnel watch or a business journey, or if you're looking at overall experience levels or generating a report or a metric or exporting for further analysis. There's a lot of things you can do with analytics, and it all all starts with getting that source data in and then starting to perform ADQL searches against it. Now that you're getting excited about all the things you can do with Splunk AppDynamics Analytics, let's start looking at the requirements for it. Let's start out with the agents. Now, over on the left, when it says agent, think of a standalone. It's a standalone agent that can be even used by multiple tiers or multiple nodes, all for analytics, but it's a standalone separate from the agent installation for maybe APM or infrastructure, things like that. And then on the other side, you have agentless, which is a bundled type of analytics agent. So for Java or .NET, if they're newer versions of the agent, analytics is actually already built in, and a lot of times you just have to turn the flag on in the controller. Let's dig further into the requirements to get analytics working for you. So now if you're dealing with APM transaction data, you're going to want to make sure that at least one application is reporting analytics into the controller, or you're not going to get anything in there. Same thing could be said for the EUM. And then you also have to make sure that you have the respective license. So if it's on the APM side, you need transaction analytics. And then if it's on the EUM, the end user monitoring side, then you need to make sure that you have the correct analytics licenses for either BRUM or MRUM, depending on which monitoring solution you have in place. Beyond making sure that you have data there and licensing for it, you also need to get access that allows you to perform the searches that you're wanting to perform. Remember, using analytics, you can't do anything without the searches. Or you can have somebody else create searches for you and add them to your dashboard. And then you can have, you might need access to at least the data that it's pulling from. But ultimately, it's very important that you work with your internal admins to make sure that you have the right level of access, because when you're querying against analytics data, sometimes you can pull out data that may be seen as protected, etc. So abide by your standards and your rules internally and make sure that you coordinate with your admins appropriately. Dealing with transaction analytics, you have to actually go in and turn it on. So even if you have an agent deployed, licensing's good, you still have to go into the controller and you still have to turn it on. You not only have to turn it on for the application, you also want to select the business transactions that you specifically want that would bring the most value to the correlation searches that you're trying to perform. And then when you're done with all of that, you go over and hit the save. And we'll go over more of this in the demo. So coming over from transaction analytics, which is much different than looking at the EUM side of things, which this one is regarding the browser real user analytics. And now all of the AJAX requests coming in are technically getting stored in the event service. And then you actually have to refine it and say, I don't want these certain ones. And then of those excluded, I also want to make sure this one is an exception. And with that exception will be called out by an inclusion rule. The same thing applies when you're looking at the MRUM or the mobile real user monitoring. All of the AJAX requests are going in. It's up to you or your admin or implementer to go and refine what you don't want and then make inclusion rules to include what you do want that the exclusion rule might be catching. So it's kind of like exclusions are a catch-all, inclusions would be exceptions to that rule. And then you always have to hit save on both. Let's go ahead and jump into a demo so that we can get our hands on it. This is the landing page where you typically find yourself when you first access the controller. And on this overview page of the controller, you can go all the way down and go straight to analytics. And you also get some insight of what's going on over there. And then more commonly, you probably go to the magnet menu over here, click on analytics. That brings us over to the analytics home, which all adjusts according to what we have in the time picker. And it allows you to see all of the transaction summary for the analytics being sent into the controller or the event service. And it also gives you a drop down so you can do a comparison of one or more, and it will aggregate all of these visualizations right here. And then just below that, you also have the end user session summary, which is the same thing. You can choose which browser or mobile app you want to aggregate these visualizations for. and it's based on all of the applications coming into the controller currently. Now, we're going to spend a lot of time in the search tab on the next video as well. We're going to review all of these other tabs in future videos as we progress. For right now, I want to focus on the transaction summary because unlike the EUM agents for APM, you have to actually turn on what you want. So for each application, you have to turn it on, and for every business transaction, you have to turn it on. So for today's example, we're going to use AD Games. I'm going to go ahead and click on it so that it's highlighted. I'm also going to make sure that this check mark box is filled. And I'm also going to call out real quick that there is a green check mark right here, and that usually means healthy within AppDynamics. If you're not sure which health this indicator is pointing to, go ahead and mouse over this information bubble at the top. It'll let you know that it's regarding the analytics licensing. It's also telling you the agents are there and that this application is eligible to get going for analytics. Now, once that is in the clear and we know that this is good to deploy, we're going to want to make sure that we select the correct business transactions. In most cases, less is more for analytics. And also, you should know that by selecting this on or off, it has no effect on business transactions that are being collected on the APM side. This is additional information about the transaction analytics used specifically for what you're wanting to do with your ADQL searches. Think of the example for the insurance. That person had trouble logging in, therefore they couldn't go through and get a new insurance policy added to their account. Therefore, there's probably some sort of correlation between revenue and that insurance company. Similarly, if a gaming platform is not able to have people log in, they probably can't sell them any games or any sort of services. So a similar correlation could probably be made from these. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and you'll see that notification come up at the top. Now, just for sake of example, if I were interested in collecting all of the business transaction analytics, I can hit this box right here, which will check all of them as well. If I were interested in applying analytics to all new deployments in AppDynamics, then I could hit this toggle up top, and that will bring anything new, net new application going into Splunk AppDynamics. It will automatically have this check mark. It will not supersede any old ones that are unchecked. So you still have some control there, but I would be careful with licensing and making sure that you're not overburdening the controller with things that are not needed. Like I said, it has no effect on business transaction information, just the additional information that's being pulled for transaction analytics. And now, since we are not having to do anything to get EUM metrics to come in through the analytics routes, we're not going to review those today. We'll keep those for future sessions. And now you know how to turn on transaction analytics in your own controller so you can get going on your journey with AppDynamics Analytics. Wrapping up the video, I want to leave you with some closing thoughts on this intro to analytics. Now, I would love for you to understand the types of data that is going into analytics that is stored in the event service and used specifically for the purpose of analytics. There's EUM as well, APM data, and both of them have slightly different requirements, but both of them require licensing. And then I would also like for you to understand that you need to enable transaction analytics for APM, as well refine your AJAX request analytics for EUM applications. I will provide all of the documentation of what we went over today down in the description. Then, as always, please join our live sessions, watch for other on-demand videos, especially the ones that are progression to this one as part of the analytics playlist. It means a lot to us that you watch these videos and give us any sort of feedback on them. We want to make sure that we're relevant. If we've done a good job and you want us to keep going, please support us by liking and subscribing, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again.